Hello, my beautiful friends. I am Laurel Bleadon-Maffei with Illuminating Souls, welcoming you to this episode of Sleepy Bedtime Blessings, a podcast designed to help you rest, relax, and fall asleep, all while deepening in your connection with your beautiful team of angels who love you so. I am an angelic practitioner, a spiritual teacher, and an encourager of souls. And I have the sweetest job ever. I get to help you connect with your angels and open to your gifts and your magic in a lot of different ways. I offer one-on-one angel sessions which take place over the phone. They're 60 minutes in length, and every session is unique. The angels and I meet you where you are and do our best to lift you up into a higher space of consciousness and awareness and inspiration for your life. I also offer a longer form of support called soul mentoring, or as one of my friends calls it, angel mentoring, where we meet weekly. And it's a lovely way to create space for your growth or healing or transformation. I typically only work with a handful of people at any time, so if that's something that's of interest to you, feel free to reach out to me. And then I also offer a variety of classes that my intention is to inspire your spirit, and I offer something new about every 6 weeks or so. Just yesterday we started my newest class, The Path of Enchantment, and contemplating and dreaming up a new class that I will be bringing out in the middle of August of 2023. I just put that timeline in there because I don't know when you'll listen to this, so if you're listening to this at some date in the future, you can visit me at my website and see what I have going on in your timeline. So I do invite you to visit me at my website at illuminatingsouls.com. And there's 2 opportunities to sign up for my mailing list so that you will be aware of what I have coming up. The first is at the top of my website, and you can register there for my general mailing list. This will bring you announcements about my offerings, what I have going on, and so you'll probably receive a handful of emails each month. When I'm opening a class, you might receive 3 or 4 in a week, but then you'll have silence for a while from me. The other is further down on the home page, and that's for the daily inspiration email blast, where I will send you an inspiring email every weekday. So 2 different options. One, you'll get emails from me less frequently. The other, you'll receive not only the announcement emails that you would get in the first one, but you'll also get a weekday email from me. So you're welcome to sign up for one or the other. And I would love to stay in touch with you outside of the podcast. So also please feel free to send me an email. Let me know if you're enjoying the podcast. Is it helping you sleep, or do you listen during your waking hours? I'd love to hear from you. And if you are really loving the podcast, if you would consider leaving ratings and reviews on iTunes or Spotify, that would be amazing. So thank you. So as I record this, it is early morning. That is my preferred time for recording these episodes for you. I don't know, you might think that I record these at nighttime when I'm all cozied up and getting ready for bed. But the truth is, by the time bedtime rolls around for me, I am checked out. So you get the best of me early in the morning. So that is why I record them at this hour. So I send you the blessings of a new day, the blessings of the quiet stillness of the morning hours. And however you choose to listen, I know some of you listen during the daytime, and others of you listen to this as a sleep tool. So however you are listening, you have my blessings. And so I invite you to get comfortable in whatever way works best for you. I love listening to sleep podcasts at bedtime. I love bedtime. I have a beautiful waking life, but there is something so sweet and cozy about bedtime. And I typically go to sleep before my husband does. He stays up a bit later than I do because I go to sleep really early. I think last night I was in bed by 8 or 8:15 and definitely asleep by 8:45. I can always tell because my husband likes to watch Star Trek in the evenings, and one of the stations that we get has the original Star Trek on from 8 until 9, and then at 9, Star Trek A New Generation, or The New Generation, I should know that by now, is playing. And I know if I see Captain Picard, I have stayed up too late. So I'm almost always asleep during the first Star Trek. And what I do is I put in my earbuds, my earphones. I have the wired earphones, not the wireless ones. And I pick an episode of one of the several sleep podcasts that I listen to. I do listen to this one. So this one definitely puts me to sleep. But right now I'm having a love affair with the Sleepy bookshelf. And Elizabeth, the host, a few months ago did a whole reading of the book, The Enchanted April, which I had never read, and I haven't seen the movie either. And I fell in love with the book. It's so sweet. It's about 4 women who decide that they are going to rent out a castle in Italy for a month in April. And we get to know each of the women. Each of them are going through their own point of transformation. And I don't know, I fell in love with the book, and I fell in love with her reading of the book. And so I've listened to it all the way through already once, but I'm re-listening to it again just because it's so sweet, and I'm going to sleep through most of it. So I've been listening to episode 6, I think, for the last few nights because I fall asleep at some point. So each night I go in and I sort of fast forward to the last part that I remember. And I play a little more, and I put on the sleep timer so that it's not playing all night. I know some of you do that. You set up your playlists so the sleep podcasts are with you all night, which works for some people. That's wonderful. For me, they tend to infiltrate my dreams, and so I wind up having dreams where I'm trying to turn off the audio. So I don't set up an all-night playlist. So I just usually do one episode, and I'm almost always asleep during the first episode, which is awesome. So I'm listening to The Enchanted April again and thoroughly enjoying it. I think I'm going to have to rent the movie from Amazon Prime and watch the movie. It was a rather popular movie back in the day, and but I never saw it. It was an art house film more than a blockbuster. But I think I'm going to have to rent it and watch it because it's just so delightful. So that's a little bit about my present bedtime ritual. I turn the volume down low on the sleep podcast, lower than I would if I'm listening to an audiobook, because I also listen to audiobooks. I never imagined that I would fall in love with having these audio-only experiences. I've always been a television girl. I love TV. I love the visual. I love watching something. But I've really fallen in love with having the audio-only experiences. They're so rich and beautiful. And I don't know if you found your way to audiobooks yet, but they're wonderful. I thought mistakenly that an audiobook was simply someone reading a book. Sounds so simplistic. Of course, why would I not think that? Not realizing that good audiobooks, the narrators, bring it to life. You feel the personality. The different characters might have different voices or different inflections, and they're wonderful. So I've fallen in love with audiobooks as well. So the whole audio only experience really nurtures me in a way that I never would have imagined to be the case before. And in this podcast, I also get to share with you the angels, the beautiful, wonderful angels that I love so much, that are filled with so much love for you. And listen, you may believe in angels. You may think, oh, those are lovely. I'm so glad Laurel has them. You may just think of them as mythical creations. But the idea of them is so lovely. And our imagination, it doesn't really matter whether something really exists in the world or not. Our imagination, when we steer it in the direction of love and delight and inspiration, we experience it in our, quote, dream time reality bubble, if you will. So will MIT ever be able to prove the presence of angels? No, I can't imagine that day will come. But I feel them in my heart. I am uplifted and inspired and filled with love when I connect with the dream of them, the promise of them, the presence of them. So I believe they are real. But I guess what I'm saying is it's not really necessary for you to believe that they are real. Maybe just bring them into your imagination center and daydream that they are real and what that would be like. And you will still receive the positivity and light from the experience. You know, we are always living in an imagined world of sorts. Think about what plays through your consciousness every single day. Right? I'm a worrier. I wish I wasn't, but I am. And most of my worries, thank goodness, never come to pass. So the worries are imagined. They're imagined. They are creations of my mind. Or the arguments I might continue to have in my head over something that happened years ago. That's imagined. That argument hasn't really taken place. So we are always imagining in our consciousness. So if you'll think of it this way, this is an opportunity for you to focus your imagination in something that will uplift and inspire you. Love is love. Whether it's the love we receive through our loved ones, our animals, our self-care, or it is love that is imagined, it still serves us well. So I'm going to invite the angels in. They're already here, but I love the ritual of sharing them with you. So I invite you to cozy on up and snuggle on in, especially if you're preparing for sleep. And take a nice deep breath in, and we will call ourselves gently into the heart of God. And if God isn't your word, universe, source, goodness, whatever you want to call it. And beautiful angels on high, I invite you to join us here. And I'm so deeply grateful for this opportunity to come together and shine this love upon our beloveds who are hearing this message. And angels, I ask that you infuse this broadcast with waves of healing light, of inspiration, of lightness, of spirit, of goodness, and of course of love. And dear ones, just take some nice deep breaths in, allowing the waves of love to pour over you. And imagine, if you will, that the angels are filling the room, the space you are in, with a beautiful, soft, pink light. And this light has been calibrated just for you, because the angels know what is happening in your life and in your heart. And so this love, it has been calibrated for you. And this love is generous, and it is also flowing to all of those that you love, to all of those who love you. This love is flowing across the timeline of your life, into your past, into your present, and even seeding into your future timeline. This love is multidimensional and all-encompassing in the most beautiful of ways. Your prayers have been received, they have been heard, and they are being amplified in service to your highest and best good. And the angels, they encourage you to rest. You can let go and rest. You have done enough for this day. And while you rest and sleep, the beautiful molecules of potential that are swirling about in your name will help to create the moments ahead for you, where perhaps you will find your tokens of magic, your signs of love. So take a nice deep breath in. The angels have such gratitude for you. You are a beacon of light in this world, even if you don't know how it is true. All you have to do is look around the world and you will see plenty of evidence of people who do not carry love in their hearts. But you do. You are someone who cares about the well-being of others. You are one who carries hope in your heart that somehow things might shift and things will get better. You are one of the ways God's love is made visible on the planet. That's something that Reverend Michael Beckwith always says at Agape, and I love that. You are one of the ways that God's love is made visible on the planet. Isn't that a lovely reminder? And it's not meant to be a sustained note 24/7. It's understandable. We're also human. We're divine beings having a human experience. And sometimes we're very, very human and we forget our divinity. But hopefully, God willing, we come back to our hearts. We come back to center. We receive a reminder such as this broadcast. And we come back to love and we allow ourselves to be replenished and nurtured by it. So that hopefully at some point we will have an overflow we can share with others. So you're doing so much better than you know, and you are truly a blessing in this world. You are precious. And the angels and I are so grateful for this opportunity to shine this love upon you. So we invite you to rest. And if it is your bedtime, to drift off to sleep. And while you do, we're going to go on into story time. So we'll be together for about another 40 minutes, and I'm going to read to you and share with you and ramble to you so that you have a kind, loving voice helping to soothe you to sleep. So cozy on up, my friends, and I've got a treat for you. So I have a fun story time for you. This one has been in the works for a while. I love looking for old magazines, old catalogs, TV guides, things like that I can share with you and ramble through with you for our story time. So in this episode, I have a Christmas book from Neiman Marcus from 1973. I have been stalking this on eBay for months now. And it's not that it was terribly expensive, but I like a good bargain. So it was higher priced than I wanted. But I really wanted it because there's some really cool stuff in it. So I finally just spent the money, and it wasn't much money. The whole thing was less than $20. So don't worry, I did not get myself into financial hardship over it. Although I would have had I purchased some of these items. Because I don't know if you're familiar with Neiman Marcus. It is a U.S.-based department store based in Texas. And it has a long history. But somewhere, maybe in the 50s, and certainly by the time I came of age in the 70s and 80s, it had become known as a very high-end department store where very wealthy people shopped. And every year they would come out with their Christmas book. And their Christmas book was known for very extravagant, impractical gifts that most of us could not afford. I don't even know that they sold any of them. But every year, the month before Christmas, or maybe a few weeks before, there would always be some news story about, and this year you can buy a pair of ostriches from Neiman Marcus for the person who has everything. Usually they would say the man who has everything because we were very gender specific in those days. So let me share with you a little bit. I asked my best friend ChatGPT to tell me a little bit about what was happening in 1973 so that we can have a sense on what a dollar was worth back then versus what it's worth now, and just a little bit about the economy and Neiman Marcus. So this is from ChatGPT. In 1973, the average annual income in the United States was around $10,500 for a single individual and around $17,321 for a family of four. It's important to note that these figures can vary depending upon the specific source and methodology used for the calculation. As for home prices, the average cost of a new home in 1973 was approximately $32,500. Again, this can be varied based on location and factors. Neiman Marcus, a luxury department store, has always been known for catering to affluent clientele. In 1973, shopping at Neiman Marcus would have been considered a symbol of wealth and status. The store offered high-end luxury products, exclusive items, and extravagant gifts, making it a desirable destination for affluent individuals looking to indulge in luxury goods. During that time, the economy in the United States was experiencing a period of economic growth, although there were challenges like the oil crisis that led to rising energy costs and inflation. Despite this, the luxury market continued to appeal to the well-to-do customers. Okay, and then I asked ChatGPT to put together a list of what some of the extravagant items were that Neiman Marcus offered in the 70s. At first, it came back with a list, and when I asked more questions about it, it said, well, those aren't actually verified, so I think ChatGPT was making stuff up. So I then said, you know what, could you just give me items that are verified, please? And also tell me what that would be in today's dollars. So I think these are verified. ChatGPT could have been making stuff up, but this is what I've got for you. So his and her miniature robots offered in 1970. In 1970, they were $10,600. A set of 2 life-size miniature robots designed to perform various functions, making them a futuristic and novel gift for the time. And that would be $70,000 in today's dollars. So way ahead of their time, right? You might want a private golf course, 1972, for $350,000. Have your own 9-hole private golf course designed and built on your property. So property not included. But if you're wealthy enough to spend $350,000 in 1972 on your own private golf course, you probably own half the town already. So that would be $2.3 million in today's funds. A personal submarine, well, we know how that turned out, so no thank you. And some really sad ones, I think. A pair of baby elephants. I mean, that's horrible, right? A personalized jumbo jet. A solid gold phone. So a working telephone made entirely of solid 18-karat gold, which was $3,500 in 1971, worth approximately $22,000 today, which I don't know is true because the price of gold has gone up so much. So rather than flipping through the catalog from the beginning, I want to flip open to the page that sold me on this specific issue of their Christmas book, because I was very enchanted by it. It has a lot of the new technology for 1973. So let's just think about 1973 for a moment. I think in our house, maybe we still had a rotary dial phone. I don't know that we had upgraded to push button yet. I'm pretty positive we still had a black and white television. Maybe we were getting ready to get a color TV. So I would be 11 years old. So technology was really not much of a thing in terms of what we think of today. I remember at some point in my childhood, we spent a lot of money buying a Texas Instrument calculator for my dad. They were new to the market, and all it could do was add, subtract, divide, and multiply. But it was still a radical new technology for the day, and that might have been somewhere around this time. Our big thing was that you could put in certain numbers and turn the calculator upside down and it would say hello. I remember that being a big deal as a kid. So keep that in mind as I share with you about some of what you could purchase in 1973 from Neiman Marcus. So the first is a calculator. This is the Bomar slide rule. For the scientist, engineer, or student, this electronic calculator features slide rule usage, natural log, exponential live memory, memory substitution, inverse trig functions, arc square root, and reciprocals. And kudos to you if you know what any of those are. a unique gift for a specialist, and it was $179.95 at the time. Now, I did some handy dandy calculations, and in today's dollars, that would be $1,230. And again, this was really remarkable in its era because engineers and scientists and mathematicians were using slide rules. My dad had one. He was an electrical engineer, and I never understood how it worked. This was very much an early adopter's gift for someone. This one I still can't get over because I did not know it existed in 1973. It says, keep in touch wherever you are with this unique mobile phone. I didn't know there were mobile phone options then. Keep in touch wherever you are with this unique mobile phone, a complete mobile system in the hand, of incalculable value to you professionally and personally, complete with batteries and a charger. You provide mobile service number, and we will have your radio phone keyed to your number. I didn't even know that was an option. I don't know. I didn't do more research on it, but that's really cool. $2,000, which would be $13,743 today. It looks like a little transistor radio, but think transistor radio from the 70s. So it's still rather substantial. And there is a rotary dial, like phone thing on the front of it. So I don't know how that worked or what it would have cost to have your radio phone activated. I don't know what the distance or the range was for it, but I didn't know it existed in the 1970s, so pretty cool. Here's another interesting thing ahead of its time. So this is for the harried businessman, again, businessman. To reach frequently called numbers at the touch of a button means valuable minutes. Dialmate uses an exclusive magnetic memory. Once dialed, the system records and automatically dials that number at a single touch. Add a new number up to 40, or change any numbers already on record in the echo file. So that's by PhoneMate, and it's about $60, which would be about $409. And what it looks like, it almost looks like this black rectangle, so almost the size of a phone book from a big city, again in the 70s. Now we don't really have paper phone books, but that'll give you a sense of the size. And on top of it is an old push-buttoned telephone with the receiver that you would pick up and hold to your ear. So this was the early version of speed dial, because we didn't have speed dial back then, or the ability to memorize numbers. That was not available to us back in the day. So this was, again, revolutionary. They also have a mini Sony Trinitron color television with a 5-inch viewing screen, which I can assure you I would have wanted. Oh my God, what kid did not want their own personal mini color TV that they could have in their bed with them? This was long before we had our personal screens. And this would have been almost $400, which probably would be about $1,600 in today's dollar. So I thought that was all pretty cool. That's what actually encouraged me to buy this specific issue. So at 11 years old, I promise you, I would have wanted the portable phone, even if I could only call my mom from down the block. That still would have been so cool. I wouldn't have cared about the slide rule calculator, although I might have wanted to get it for my dad, because he loved technology. He would have thought that was super cool. The speed dialer, I don't know that I would have needed that. We were used to memorizing numbers then. And also in my parents' house, the phone was on the wall in the hallway between kind of the kitchen and the living room and my parents' bedroom, and there was a little stand, and we always had the phone numbers there. So back in the day, we didn't worry about not having people's phone numbers. I don't know. I panic about that now if something happens to my phone. How do I get in touch with people? But back in the day, we pretty much had it going on that we could remember people's phone numbers. But I don't know. Maybe I still would have gotten that for my parents. For sure, I would have wanted the mini color television. For sure. To have dominion over what I watched and when I wanted to watch it. I would have loved that. Right? That would be decades ahead of its time. But now we take that for granted, right? Because we all have that in the palms of our hands. So it's pretty cool how the promise of these products and these technologies in 1973, we have now completely exceeded the promise of them here. All of these years later, 50 years later, which is not a lot of time. It's a lot of development. Also, on the next page, again, if you're looking for an extravagant, impractical gift, they have an old-fashioned bicycle. And by old-fashioned, I mean the kind with the giant wheel in the front that you would see in magazines and catalogs from the earlier part of the 1900s. So just in case you would like to have one of those, it is a reproduction of the high wheeler, adding a zestful nostalgia to the sport. So it's $575, which would be the equivalent of about $4,000. Just in case, you want to go for a bike ride and get to talk to all of your neighbors on this very high bicycle, which kind of terrifies me, but maybe that's your thing. Another interesting, ahead of its time item that is in the men's section is this. It is a digital watch. So again, digital watches were not a thing back in 1973 unless you had a lot of money. So this is the Pulsar watch, a time computer at your wrist. Touch a button to view precise readout of time displayed on the face of this unique watch. It's in a stainless steel case and band, $275, which would be about $1,900. So it was just a very simple digital watch that just displayed the time. If you think about the smartwatches we have now 50 years later, this was its ancestor. And you would be spending a pretty penny for it. It really makes you realize how relatively affordable things are now. So if this was $275 back then, which would be the equivalent of about $1,900, you can get an Apple Watch these days for what? Somewhere between $300 and $500. So it's amazing the evolution of technology that has happened in the past 50 years. And it's so interesting to be able to look at it from the perspective of my lifetime, right? It's happened in my lifetime. So pretty cool. And then, of course, I have to read to you what their super duper extravagant gift was for the 1973 Neiman Marcus Christmas book. It says, "Give the impossible dream. Privacy. This most sought after and elusive of all commodities becomes a reality with a private world, designed to your needs and specifications, a contemplative environment totally your own. Once built in the area of your choice, the only entry to your world is effected by the insertion of a special sterling card into the entry slot. The card is notched, only for you, to be carried on a key or neck chain. Within your world, you relax in an atmosphere psychologically fitted to help you accomplish peak mental and personal potential. Individual needs are determined after your in-depth interview with the designers of Associated Space Design, Inc. of Atlanta. And I looked them up, and it looked like they were a prestigious architecture firm of the time. Each person's quote world is as unique as he or she. Colors, equipment, accessories are all as variable as a person. Basically, whatever else goes into your world, the dimensions are 12 feet by 15 feet, with sliding panels to permit a one-way view of either the actual outside world or superimposed film of your choice or location. You may close the panels for complete isolation. There will be a lounge, your choice of chair, couch, recliner, waterbed, or cushion, because waterbeds were a really big thing in 1973. Close at hand will be whatever materials you need to begin work once your problems have become unknotted. Completely soundproofed from exterior noises, your world, capital W, can be filled with sound, whether musical or of nature, that best unravels the paths of your mind. Price of your world must of necessity be a variable, but begins at $80,000. And just if you're keeping track, that's the equivalent of $550,000 in today's money. And the image that they have is an egg, a shape of an egg, and there is a man on a very super cool cushioned platform. There's a phone to one side, and then it looks like, I don't know, a place where he has a drink on the other. It looks very Star Trek-y. Like, it looks very technology forward, like a space capsule. I don't know what it would have looked like in reality. But it's so interesting, again, how we would think of having our own sanctuary, our own room. And now we have things like noise-canceling headphones. And, you know, you think about how that's evolved today, whether someone calls it their meditation room or the man cave or the she shed or whatever that is, you know, having our own personal space, especially for those who are fortunate enough to have the spaciousness for it and the money. That's something that is much more common, at least here in the U.S. I know other parts of the world, things might be different, but it's not unusual for someone to have their own room in their home that they can outfit the way they want to these days. They also have what they're calling a remote control paging system. So call from room to room, inside to outside. Our exclusive remote control paging system includes a small unit with button for the caller and receiver with light beacon. Press the button and the beacon blinks. The radio buzzes. $100 then, probably $400 to $500 in today's money. You also can get the Sony digital clock AM/FM radio, which I loved having my own AM/FM digital clock radio when that became a thing. I loved it, and my sister and I would get very excited when it would be 11:11. So even back then, 11:11 was a thing. We didn't know that it had anything to do with angels. We just thought it was super cool when 11:11 happened, because we had grown up with analog clocks, and then to have a digital clock was super cool back in the day. And who didn't want a good intercom system? Which we didn't have. We just yelled. You would yell down the stairs. That was our intercom system. You had to have a good set of lungs. Back in the day before, everybody had a cell phone and you could text somebody in the other room. Remember the good old days of just yelling to the other side of the house, or down the stairs, or up the stairs, or down the block? We would just yell. That was acceptable back then. Back in the day. It was fine. We could yell. We could yell for someone. Mom. What? And you'd have a whole conversation that way. That was prehistoric texting. Just yell. And I suppose I can also tell you the things I would never want from this catalog. There's a list of different sterling silver things you could get, right? These would be the stocking stuffers, for the wealthy people. There's this one. It looks like a thimble, and it says a thimble jigger, 2 inches high, which means like that's a shot glass, right? So for future reference, don't ever get me that. I never want a sterling silver thimble, nor a thimble-inspired jigger. No, thank you. It also has a sterling silver toothpaste key. Back in the day when rolling your toothpaste tube up, some people would have like a plastic key that would help keep the tube tight. So you can get a silver one if you want. Don't ever get me that, just so you know. A perfume flask? Never need that. Nuh-uh. A whistle on a chain? Don't need a silver one of that either. I don't know. Those just amused me. So, there you go. Don't get me any of those stocking stuffers. So again, 1973. We're still in the groovy years. I can tell you that because there are quite a few caftans happening. Not the cool caftans of today. I think I shared with you on one of my recent TV Guide episodes that there is a shop selling Mrs. Roper's caftans. So Mrs. Roper was on Three's Company. This was even before that. So a casino caftan, the easy way to don sparkle for an evening. Seraglio. What is this word? A seraglio. Serglio. I have no idea what that means. Of pattern in midnight blue nylon woven with golden and silvery lurex. Sizes 6 to 16 and Neiman Marcus exclusive. $90, which would be around $380. A naturally air-conditioned gauzy Indian cotton striped caftan is a comfort factor poolside or patio in a muted gray, blue, and gold. His caftan, so for him, it's a male caftan. Like, how do you even know? Shouldn't they just be for anyone who wants to wear them? But okay, $60. So again, that would be $280 around. So several more pages of very groovy fashion. And then how about this? His and Hers, 1973. Greek craters, which it's spelled with a K, so I think these are urns. Well, they are urns, I can see them. But I think craters must mean urns. They're ancient Greek pottery that they are selling in the Neiman Marcus catalog. So His and Her Greek craters, or urns, I will say. There can be no controversy about these genuine Greek bell craters, double-handled urns. Thank you, Neiman Marcus, for confirming what I already presumed. Unearthed in southern Italy, dating from the mid-4th century BC. Not painted by Euphronius or made by Euxtheos. I have no idea who those people are, or that's okay. Right, I apologize if I'm saying them wrong. These craters have been authenticated by archaeologists and have been exported legally. No skullduggery nor clandestine meetings were involved in their acquisition. We have collected a limited number of craters, each set having one crater adorned with a male figure and the other with a female, to make them the exceptional his and her gifts of the year. Some have minor restorations. Each pair will be accompanied by a certificate of authenticity. So those are running about $5,000, so probably anywhere between $20,000 to $25,000 in today's currency. And now we're going through sort of the trinket part of the catalog. In Yiddish, we call it tchotchkes, but they're Neiman Marcus tchotchkes, so they're very expensive. So we're just going to move through those because I don't have time and space for those anymore. Then we're coming to the women's section. So there are lots of nightgowns, very modest nightgowns, bathrobes, house slippers, and kind of the holiday house coats. Like there's one here, holiday sparkle for an elegant evening. Rayon brocade in lime and blue is lavishly traced with golden metallics. An attention-drawing hostess fashion in sizes 6 to 16. So it's $150. And it's beautiful. It's this metallic floor-length gown. I just can't even imagine giving a dinner party where I would wear that. My life would have to be so elevated beyond what it is right now for me to show up in that dress. Like, come on over for dinner. And I'm wearing this giant floor-length, beautiful evening hostess wear that's really a robe, but not really a robe. And how do you know for sure it's the 70s? Because they have a floor-length knit black dress that involves granny squares. Right, so crocheted granny squares are part of this dress, and they say the dress comes from Israel. And it's interesting because granny square fashion, crocheted granny square fashion, is kind of coming back these days. But that was definitely an early 70s thing. I know because I definitely wore stuff that had been crocheted back then. And now I love crocheting again. So, again, all things old are new again. And to wrap it up, what would an episode of Sleepy Bedtime Blessings be without some kind of food nostalgia for you? So we're in the food section now of the catalog, which does include a lovely 2-pound assortment, 72 pieces of Godiva chocolate. And I will tell you, back in 1973, Godiva chocolate was very exclusive. It was not as accessible as it is today. And then they also have a Food of the Month Club. So what are some of the things that they have? So you can get coffee one of the months. Again, Godiva. I would always be in for that. I don't think I had my first taste of Godiva chocolate till I was in my late teens. A continental dessert trio. So 1 pound of jumbo dessert apricots from Australia. I wouldn't have cared. 1 12-ounce crock of Neiman Marcus cheddar cheese spread. Yeah, that's fine, but I could get cheese spread anywhere. And dry roasted cashew nuts. Oh, March would have not been a good month. Dried apricots, cheese spread, and cashews. Like, I can get that down the street. Who cares? I need one where I get Godiva chocolates every month. There is, in April, you would get an afternoon tea and some of Neiman Marcus's pastel petit fours. There's 44 in the 22-ounce box. I don't know that I would have loved them, but I would have eaten them for sure. Then, let's see, in May, my birthday month, unique candy pebbles stored in a reusable French teakwood and glass jar. I don't know, that doesn't sound terribly exciting. One of the months you get chewy pecan pralines perhaps. I don't like them. Can you believe I'm going to say this? They are too sweet for me. There, I said it. Pralines, I can't eat, I don't like, and baklava, too sweet for me. So, you can also get in August almond pecan corn, so like candy corn. That would have been good. Preserves. Listen, preserves are lovely, but if you were going to send me an extravagant food gift, it would not be that. You also can get Texas Ruby Red, so grapefruits. Yeah, don't send me grapefruit, please. Don't do that. I would not be happy about that. Let's see what our other options are. Cakes and breads. I'm always good with cakes and breads, but remember I don't eat sugar, so you probably shouldn't buy those for me either. But our private label selection of tea and dessert cakes to slice and serve, storing the unused portion in the plastic topped containers, included our orange nut bread, cherry rum cake, chocolate almond cake, pecan pound cake, lemon twist, and strawberry buttermilk. So each one looks to be about the size of a small coffee can. Between you and me, if one of these comes out of the can and you're slicing it, is there even going to be an unused portion to put back into the container? I don't think so. At least if I was eating with a friend, that would pretty much be consumed. Butter rum fruit cake. You never have to give me fruit cake ever. Totally not my thing. A Cars Tapestry biscuit assortment. Well, that sounds delightful. Again, I don't eat sugar, but in my day I would have loved that. New iced souffle jelly candies. Okay, just so you know, jelly candies were never my thing. So, no thank you. More almond pecan corn, candy corn. That would be delicious. And I believe that brings us to the end of our food options. So there is an extravagant kids section, but I'm not going to go through that now. I don't know why. It doesn't delight me in the way the other things do. It's lovely, but I don't know. It doesn't have the joy factor for me that it might have if I were 10 years old, because then I would have wanted something from there. But these days, not really. And it's interesting. There was nothing in the food section that delighted me. So, and don't get me a sterling silver thimble jigger. Don't need that. And don't need the silver toothpaste roller thingy. Certainly silver's a good thing, but I don't need a thimble jigger nor a thimble because I don't sew like that. You know what a great gift is that you can give me is you've already done it. You've listened. You have listened to this episode. That's an awesome present from you. So thank you. Thank you. And I'm going to send you the gift of some extra love because I love you and you're awesome. So thank you so much for letting me share this Neiman Marcus catalog with you from 1973 and this tour through the Wayback Machine and seeing just how far we've come in 50 years. It's pretty incredible. So, as always, I wish you the sweetest of dreams. I wish you blessings of light, and I look forward to connecting with you again soon. Thank you.